What's going on, guys? I hope you're all doing fantastic today. We got an account review, and it's going to be a little bit different than the ones I normally do. So the player asked me for an account review, but to specifically focus on things like Hydra, as well as 3v3 Arena. These are the areas that he's struggling the most with. And I figure, most players that I hear talking about these areas also struggle with them and also have a hard time. It's one of the two areas that I had to spend a lot of time personally focusing on because they're not just as easy as, say, building a dungeon team that's full auto. You set it up and you run through it. There's a lot more variables at play with both of these areas. So the focus of today is going to be that, but I first want to give you guys an idea of where this account is. So I'm going to scroll through this account review sheet, which is basically a snapshot in time of his account. You can kind of do a comparison of, hey, this is where I am versus this player. And then I want to go through building some full auto teams. We're not going to actually gear the champions, but I'm going to explain to you why I would put specific champions in the team and how I go about actually deciding what champion's going to go where, as well as some 3v3 stuff, and then some general suggestions. I think we have some big things in this account that, when changed, will give this account skyrocketing success, basically. Maybe a little bit exaggerative, maybe dramatic, but let's go ahead and continue through this. So Faction Wars is good, Arena, Gold 4, Bronze 3, 3v3. This is not where this account belongs. We can definitely push up a lot higher than this based on the champions. But champions can hold your account back from 3v3, but the gear can also hold your account back from 3v3. It really takes a combination of both to actually push up into Gold 1 for the Ramen 2 missions, so on and so forth, or even to Gold 4. Great Hall levels 109. One of the big things I want him to focus on is actually climbing in the Great Hall. Climbing in the Great Hall, essentially just farming more arena medals in Classic Arena. He's doing very good with that, though, so really no changes or suggestions need to be made there because he has a one-man defense. He's farming these easy teams down here, just one-man defenses as well, which is really all you have to do at this level of Arena. Just stay between Gold 4 and Gold 5. Do your easy matches. The tiers, it's going to give you the same amount of medals from Gold 4 to Gold 5. You're going to get a little more area bonuses as far as the HP attack and defense percentage boosts in Gold 5 versus Gold 4, but it's easy just to do Gold 4, Gold 5, bounce between those. He's doing well, and he's going to progress slowly but surely, which is how Arena is. It's a marathon, basically. Now, the fastest champion in the account is, well, the fastest Arbiter currently built, I've noticed, is 320 speed. Offense options, he has several offense and defense options for 3v3, which should make this account pretty good for a showcase of, hey, these are the teams that I would suggest building for 3v3 as well as Hydra. We do have a lot of champions to pick from, but I want to especially get through to you guys what my thought processes are when actually building these teams. So maybe you can go out with your different champion selection and actually build similar ones yourself. So then when clan bosses are all one key, Hydra, these are all doable. I'm not for sure where he's at with each one, but I know this was an area that he says that he absolutely hates Hydra, basically. Doom Tower he's clearing. As far as the bosses to farm, Frostbiter, I like Scarab King. The immunity plus resistance gear is good. For Eternal Dragon rotation, I actually like the Eternal Dragon. I used the Bloodthirst set on my Inquisitor Shamel, but the other one worth farming would be Griffin. So these two are both very good, Eternal Dragon and Griffin. It's really whichever one you prefer. And then Dark Fae, there's really no question about it. It's just the best. So whenever Dark Fae rotation's around, farm that. So he's doing pretty good on Doom Tower overall, and then I have some suggestions down here, but these are essentially what I'm going to be talking about a little bit later in the video. So you guys can read this if you want, pause the video, but this is something more for him I'm going to get to later on. Now, something for context before we jump into these team builds is the gear and where it's currently at. So this right here is what's causing this account to be held back. So he has 508 rank 5 pieces. At this level of his account, he's past Lydia, he's done all that stuff, he's cleared Doom Tower hard, he's working on Curse City stuff. This should be 0 5-star pieces, rank 5 pieces, or at the very least, get rid of the pieces that are not of the, S tier sets. When I say the S tier sets, I'm talking about these sets that you're going to use in the end game, and the set bonuses is so powerful that you can keep it even if it is a 5-star piece, but you still want it rolled well. Things that come to mind are Lethal. Lethal's a set that's pretty decent at 5 stars sometimes. You want to complete the set, and sometimes you just don't have any other, say, shield with crit rate and speed rolls, and you just have to go a 5-star piece. So Lethal, Stone Skin, sometimes Protection, things like Merciless Gear, these pieces, possibly Supersonic, Slayer sometimes, these different sets that you really want to complete the set bonus for, that you may not have all the S tier 6-star pieces, those are worth keeping 5-star pieces for and rolling them up and seeing how well they do. Potentially worth rolling sometimes speed pieces in 5-star for the potential to quad roll, but there comes a time where you just don't need that anymore. And honestly, this account's at the point where majority of these 5-star pieces should just be sold, really without any question whatsoever. So like the 5-star up to epic, all these pieces, especially these speed pieces, like if it's a triple roll speed, it's not even gonna have that much speed in comparison to a triple roll 6-star, right? Even a double roll 6-star, I believe is pretty comparable. I need to double check the substat roll ranges, but ideally you wanna have majority 6-star pieces just all throughout your account. This account also has a lot of pieces that are not leveled. So you're gonna notice that the areas we need to focus is leveling the gear to see what we need to sell, and also getting more gear in general, but forging pieces. Forging pieces is going to be a huge area of progression for this account. But honestly, coming in here and just selling all this 5-star stuff is going to give him a decent sized stockpile to actually start farming, more space to get more high quality pieces, and then be very strict moving forward. Once you get Lydia, you don't have to be relaxed on your gear. Before Lydia, 5-star pieces, they're a little bit more acceptable because you need to gear champions who you're not going to be using at the highest level. But after Lydia, other than Curse City, you don't need to put mediocre gear on most of your champions. Most of your champions can start having, your pretty high-end gear. You want to start hitting the minimum stat thresholds that I have down here at the bottom. So looking at his artifacts, similar breakdown to his accessories, they both have a pretty big chunk of this light blue taking over the other blue. So I want to switch that. Actually, I want to make the 5-stars at most a quarter of this graph on both. With accessories, it's even more strict. With accessories, I don't typically recommend saving any 5-star pieces except for unique sets, possibly things like Reaction, Protection, Slayer, things where you actually want to complete, say, a 6-piece bonus, a 4-piece bonus, or a 9-piece bonus. These are worth keeping at 5-star, and then possibly banners with speed. If they quad roll, maybe even triple roll accuracy banners, they're a little bit more few and far between with good speed rolls, so maybe those are worth keeping. But in general, if it's a 5-star accessory, just sell it. You should be doing so much spider farming that regular accessories that you get from spider, you don't need any 5-star whatsoever from. The difference between 5 and 6-star accessories is just so big, and you're going to be getting so many accessories. Just sell the 5-star ones, basically, just flat out, and then just keep a very, very small portion of the 5-star pieces from these special sets, and then 6-star pieces, start keeping those, and then working towards, okay, if it's an attack ring, it needs attack percentage substat. We don't really need defense or HP percentage. HP is a little bit better most of the time, but we really want, if it's going to go on a damage dealer, to actually do some good damage. If it's a defense ring, we don't want attack percentage. It's a dead stat for defense-based nukers or even support champions. We don't need the attack. Maybe a few situations you could use that, but majority of them, it's just not going to make sense. Now, scrolling down a little bit more, we have the dungeon priority. So if you're in a similar spot, this account, let's click through some of the champions' gear. So some of the nukers specifically to see why I recommended Fire Knight. So Newt could be good in Savage, makes it easier to hit the max HP cap. We need to see much higher crit damage, but we just don't have it. So another nuker option is going to be Ragash. Ragash is a potential nuker, defense-based nuker. We don't have 100% crit rate yet, which is the #1 rule when it comes to building damage dealers. Always get 100% crit rate. Drop your damage dealing stats to get 100% crit rate. Of course, there are exceptions. You got Coldheart. I saw Rhonda and I thought of her, but Coldheart, she has a built-in 70% crit rate. So if your champions are like that and they're only really using one skill, then it's, of course, different situation. But 99% of the time, you want your damage dealers to have 100% crit rate, 225% plus crit damage, and then ideally close to 200 plus speed. The thing that I think is going to help this account more than anything, well, possibly more than anything. Now, if you're free to play, this isn't going to apply to you, but this is one of the tips that I give in the actual general suggestion, and that is purchasing the Forge Pass. Forge Passes, I know this player is a spender. He bought a takeover, which if you guys are interested in one, you can click the link down below as well. But I also know it because the monthly pack is at $50, so he spent some money. The daily gym pack is worth it, but honestly, for this player, I'd say the Forge Pass is quite a bit better value than the daily gym pack, just because you're able to get a defense ignore set. And no, it's not as good as Savage, but he doesn't have any good Savage equipped anyways. Doesn't really have great Savage luck, it seems. So getting this, you're going to ignore 5% less defense, but you're getting an extra 12% speed. This is a set that I put on a lot of my best damage dealers on my account, just because you can get the speed so easily, plus the ignore defense. Now, would Savage or Lethal be much better than this? Without a doubt. If you could hit similar numbers, Savage and Lethal is much more preferred than this set. But there comes a time where you have so many damage dealers you need to gear, even your Cold Hearts, your Husks, your Royal Guards, your Wall Master, which he has in this account. These champions can all be put into defense ignore sets, and there's sometimes just not enough to go around. So maybe you want your Wall Master, who has pretty low multipliers, and it's kind of difficult to get him to hit the max HP cap. Maybe you want him in your Savage or Lethal stuff, and then your champions like Cold Heart can go into your Instinct sets, or maybe your Rhonda, who right now is sitting at, let's see, a pretty low speed, at 182, maybe you want to get her to 280 speed. Well, you're going to need some help. You're going to need the speed boost from the Instinct set. You still get good defense ignore, a little bit less, like I said, but it's still going to be very good. Plus that extra speed makes Instinct a very good set. Instinct, Righteousness, is that what it's called? Righteous. So Instinct, Righteous, Slayer, Defiant, Bolster. These are all good sets. Some of them you can purchase 1 or 2 times, and some of them you're probably going to want to purchase every single time. I don't want to make this an ad for Plarium, so I'm not going to keep going on about that, but Instinct set would be huge for this account. Now, let's talk about the areas that I said I want to focus on in this video, which 10 minutes in, you probably already skipped it, but hopefully there's some timestamps down below. So when it comes to Hydra as well as the arena, I do want to mention I do have a bunch of notes down here for both of them. If you guys want to screenshot that or stop and see like what notes I put down, they'll probably apply pretty similarly to a lot of your accounts. Got some Nightmare Hydra minimum stats as well as just like some general stats to look for, which is here at the bottom. For stats on champs, shoot for these general numbers. This is just like a number that I have in my head when shooting for champion builds. Of course, if you have a dedicated speed champion like Arbiter, you don't need a bunch of HP and defense, you just want speed. So you want as much speed as possible, you can sacrifice these other numbers. But for champions like, say, Duchess, maybe you want to push up HP a lot, you still want to go fast. These are good for general focus. And like for damage dealers, this is the number, like in my opinion, you want to start looking for. It gives you an idea of, hey, this is where I want to go with my builds. Now, back to what I was saying. So with Hydra, when you're building a team, if you can use the optimizer, it's a very good tool to help you brainstorm stuff. I don't think it's a great tool necessarily to like, okay, copy these builds, because you need to know why you're doing what you're doing. If you don't know, then it's going to be hard to replicate future teams, especially if you don't have the gear to copy over from the people you're looking at. So what we're going to do is we're coming here to the optimizer. We're going to go to Hydra Rotation 3. We're going to go to Nightmare, because that's what I want to focus on. And we're going to look at these teams. Now, the number one thing I recommend doing is excluding manual teams. So now these are all just full auto teams. Now let's also exclude Wall Master because he's not built up yet. And I want to build this around not having him. There we go. So exclude him because I don't want to, he's not building him up yet. So these are the teams that are full auto that are doing really good damage. So now it comes down to, is your gear accessible for these teams? Now, some of these teams may work out great for you. Some of them may not. I got a feeling there's somebody in Provoke set here. Let's see. So we have Provoke set on Michinaki. Fantastic. So when it comes to Hydra, this is like the first step I do, okay? What teams, using the champions from my account, are shown in the optimizer that I could have inspiration from? Okay, we have Michinaki plus Sulfurion, a bunch of HP burns, which would help that's a Hex that helps Michinaki join in on the attacks. But a bunch of HP burn. Sulfurion also bringing a res. Sulfurion is an incredible hero. So we have the res, we have the turn meter boosting from the A1, we have the turn meter boost from the passive, the AoE HP burn that I believe places through Poison Cloud anyways, places HP burn on all enemies, instantly activates. So awesome champion. So it makes sense why he's in a Nightmare team, for sure, right? So Sulfurion's going to be in the team. But before we get into the team building, this is what I look at. Okay, this is what we got going on. These are some different teams. Okay, these are what they got. So this gives me an initial idea. Now, when it comes to actually crafting the team, there's some debuffs and buffs that I look for more than anything else. That's going to be a few different things. So decrease speed, block buffs, provoke. Hex is questionable, because it's extremely valuable. Honestly, I'd say a team needs Hex. I'd say decrease speed, provoke, block buffs, Hex are absolutely required. Like these debuffs, you want to have in your team to deal with the Hydra, slow them down so you can actually get more turns. You want to have a provoke to deal with the head of decay, ideally. You want to have block buffs or a strip champion or a possibly Sulfurion. But block buffs is so powerful, it blocks the poison cloud, it blocks buffs being spread if the head of mischief steals it from you. So these four, in my opinion, are extremely valuable. Now, next up, these ones are arguably as valuable as well. Decreased defense. If you don't have it, you're not doing much damage. Honestly, that should probably be included with these initial four. So decreased defense is right up there at the top. And it's not too difficult to get into it, but also decrease attack. So I expanded the initial 4 into, I guess, initial 6. So decrease attack is going to allow you to survive the Head of Wrath. Block buffs is also going to help that by preventing the increased attack buff from even going on him. Increased defense is going to help you do damage in a reasonable amount of time. All these 6 are very, very valuable debuffs to have on your team. Now, moving from there, let's see what some other ones that are very valuable but not required, which is going to be Weaken. We can have HP Burn. Let's see what else, if anything sticks out to me. Weaken, HP Burn. We have Decrease Accuracy, Decrease Resistance. These are possible. I'd say Weaken and HP Burn are like the tier 2 debuffs. Some teams rely on HP Burn very heavily, and some teams don't need it as much. It's a great thing to have, but you don't have to have it. Weaken becomes very valuable once you start getting into, true damage portions, or you just need extra damage. Weaken is extremely valuable, but it's not going to make you do as much damage as decreased defense in most situations. So Weaken is good, but it's not as required as decreased defense in my opinion. Also, it's usually easier to fit in a decreased defense. I feel like there's more champions with that, but if you can get a Weaken plus HP Burn, it's going to help you out. Decreased Accuracy is one of those things where if you have it, it's a great thing to have, makes mischief tanking easier. Now coming over to buffs. Of course, we're going to want a res champion, so a Reviver is going to be in the team unless you have very tanky champions. If you have like Archer plus Michinaki plus a Padric, you have a very tanky team build in general, you may not need to have a res champion. But outside of that, let's look for what buffs I like to bring, if at all possible. So first up is going to be increased speed. Increased speed is going to give me turns. So we have the decreased speed on the Hydra, increased speed on me. It's going to help us actually take turns. So increased speed is required. Now this is for full auto stuff. If you're not going full auto, it may not matter as much. So we have increased speed. Now from there, I really typically like to have increased defense and or strengthen. You don't always get both of them, but I would love to have one or the other. Because one, it's going to help me survive more, but also it's going to help my defense-based champions deal more damage. Now, if you're running a team that doesn't have Inquisitor Shamel, you're going to need a Veil. So we have decreased defense, strengthen, and possibly Veil. So from there, you have all this stuff. You have your survivability, your decreased defense, or your strengthen. You have your Veil or your Inquisitor Shamel. It depends on what team you're running. If you have Shamel, you don't need the Veil, but you have your survivability, you have your speed. From there, you want to boost the damage of your damage dealers ideally. So increase attack, things like that are going to help you out quite a bit. Now, increase accuracy is not required. Increase resistance. Block buffs is kind of questionable. Like if you go block buffs, you really want to have a strip champion, assuming you don't have a mischief tank. If you have a mischief tank, you can have that stolen. You have a strip champion, it's okay. If you have a mischief tank, also, it shouldn't be stolen to begin with. But if you don't have a mischief tank and you don't have a strip champion, you really don't need block buffs, because what's going to happen is you're just going to steal the block buffs. You're going to have a hard time placing your provokes, your decreased speed, your decreased defense, all that kind of stuff. So block buffs, while it's nice to have, isn't required in my opinion. Especially if you run a team with a cleanser like Mithrala, she can just get rid of the poisons that you get. She can get rid of the provokes that you can get, all that kind of stuff. She'll just get rid of that. So not required in my opinion, but these ones are very nice to have. Now, unkillable block damage, you can have it. Certain teams rely on that, but most teams don't need it. Extra things that could help, things like ally protection. So when it comes to building a team, we want to get as many of those buffs and debuffs into one champion as possible. Things like provoke, things like Hex, you want to make as consistent as possible. So maybe even bringing 2 of those champions could be what you want to do. So a champion like the Archer is going to bring several of these roles into one champion. We have the Hex and the Provoke, 2 very needed debuffs, as well as a decreased speed. So now we have 3 of the most important debuffs in one champion. Just covered. It's pretty easy. So now, when it comes to how many damage dealers I want to have, I typically like to have at minimum 2 damage dealers, because I can actually free the other one from the head. If you start running with only 1 damage dealer, it becomes difficult to free champions. You start relying on AoE attacks, proccing War Master, and it makes it pretty difficult. Now this one's going to be built with Nightmare in mind. So we're going to put Nightmare here, and it's going to be full auto. That's the most important thing, is I want it full auto. So we got to make sure we can keep everything up. We got to make sure we can survive any potential nukes, all that kind of good stuff. Now looking back at the previous teams, let's see if we have those situations answered. So we have the Weaken, we have the increased speed, we have the she does decreased speed as well. We have Michinaki with some good damage, decreased defense, decreased attack, Sulfurion with HP burn, Inquisitor Shamel making us not need the Veil, extra damage. So we have 1, 2, 3, basically 3 damage. Actually, no, 4 damage dealers, kind of. Sulfurion is a support / damage dealer, so a very unique champion. Ugo for the block buffs and decreased defense. Now, this team doesn't have any innate provoke, but we have Michinaki in a provoke set. So now this team does have the ability to provoke. So this is a very good team, obviously, doing 188 million on full auto. So here, let's build a team that's going to do pretty well. We're going to run a team with Inquisitor Shamel, so we're going to go ahead and put him in the very back here because I just prefer him to boost the first person and then go down the line. Now, the first person may be Archer, maybe somebody else. I'm not really for sure, honestly. If it's Eostrid, then Eostrid's actually going to get the heals, so we may end up building a pretty similar team to the one we just now saw. So Eostrid, I'm pretty sure this works as I expect it to. I don't have her on my account, unfortunately, but if Inquisitor Shamel is boosting her turn meter, it says whenever this champion or an ally has their turn meter increased, heals all allies based on their max HP. The percentage value of the heal is equal to half of the turn meter increase. So she's going to be boosting the turn meter. He's going to be boosting her turn meter, but it's actually when any ally, her or an ally. That's actually awesome. So she's going to be boosting the turn meter, doing some heals AoE. Very good. Now with Archer, she's also going to be boosting her turn meter, I believe. Whenever she hits enemies under Hex, she has some turn meter boost too, doesn't she? No, so place the decreased turn meter. So what she does actually, if you have her, the reason why I think she does a turn meter boost is because if you have her in Slayer set, she will boost her own turn meter. In this situation, she's not boosting her turn meter. But we could put a Sulfurion in here, which we may end up running a team basically the exact same as the previous one, because now we have 2 turn meter boosting champions, so very good heals throughout the team. We have a res champion as well. That team actually has a lot of good stuff built into it. So a res champion, we have a decreased speed, an increased speed, plus a weaken. We have the res, HP burn. We like a block buffs, really not required, but let's see what we can do from here. So if we go Michinaki, he's going to bring a decreased defense and decreased attack. He's going to bring an AoE Hex, which is fantastic. We could possibly throw him on Provoke, or we could throw a champion like Archer in here. She's going to bring the decreased speed. She's going to bring the Provoke, or we could say, okay, Archer is amazing. She fills a bunch of roles by herself. We could stuff her into Nightmare, or we could just throw her into a second team. So we'll actually just go Archer into a second team and then start building around her later on. This team, we can go, all right, at this point, we need, what buffs did I mention? So we have decreased defense, we need block buffs. So what block buffs are on this account? We already saw Ugo being used in the other team. Ugo, fantastic option, brings some more heals. So for block buffs, we have Archbishop, we have Wallmaster. Wallmaster would fit into this team very well, but I would also like to have an increased defense champion, honestly. So a champion like Archbishop Pinthroy could do very well in this team, honestly. Brings an increased defense, brings an AoE block buffs, plus an increased accuracy, which is nice to have. Does this other team have any increased defense champions? No, they don't. So an increased defense would help out Michinaki do some more damage. Getting increased defense plus increased attack would be very good. So maybe even a champion like Mithrala can fit into this team very good. We're going to boost the damage of Shamel. Mithrala is going to play some Hex to help Michinaki join in on more attacks. So we have kind of like a double dipping there. We have the strength in for extra survivability. Mithrala is going to help this team survive very, very well, but we kind of get left with 3 tanky survivable champions. Honestly, you could go something like Wukong plus Mithrala in this team. So now we have you would need a Provoke on Michinaki again. If you didn't want to go the Provoke set on Michinaki, you'd want to come in here and say, okay, what champions do we have that could do a Provoke in this account? We have a Krisk, which is pretty crazy. Krisk is insane. We could throw him in here. We already have the decreased speed taken care of, though, so we don't really need his role. It really looks like it's going to be, okay, Michinaki is in a Provoke set, unless we can fit somebody else in here who doesn't need to be taken up in a different team, which at the moment, Michinaki in a Provoke may be just the best option. Not a problem with that. He's going to be joining in a lot of attacks. He has 2 AoE skills. We have the extra Hex being placed, so it's going to be very, very helpful also. Now, if all these champions are booked, this could be a fantastic team for him. I don't think Sun Wukong is booked, unfortunately, so getting books on him would be huge. Very good for Arena as well. So we have a Sun Wukong who's going to be stripping and placing block buffs. We have decreased defense and weaken from Michinaki. We could bring in the Ugo for the block buffs as well, but I really like the fact that Wukong can strip through Poison Cloud. So now we're basically never going to have to worry about the head of Blight because Sulfurion is going to place the HP burn through Poison Cloud. So Wukong is going to strip through Poison Cloud. So Poison Cloud is irrelevant. Honestly, at this point, we may not even need a Provoke champion because they're going to get cleanses from the head of whatever frick. It's the head of decay. The head of decay is going to do the cleanses, but we're just going to get the buffs reapplied very quickly. You could even throw a champion like Inquisitor Shamel and provoke, or Eostrid, perfect provoke option. The reason why I'm kind of hesitant about getting Michinaki and provoke is while he would be the best champion to keep it up consistently, he can do insane amounts of damage. So I would rather him be in lethal or savage or instinct gear, something like that, because he can hit so incredibly hard. He will be the #1 damage dealer on this team, like really without a question. So Michinaki and something like lethal, savage would be great. Sun Wukong and probably instinct to get his accuracy fairly high. You could even technically go Mithrala in the lead if you really need it, the more accuracy. But shoot for Wukong having like 300-ish accuracy. You may need to go a little bit more. But if you have a very hard time hitting it, go accuracy in the lead spot. Inquisitor Shamel would be boosting Mithrala, so it's kind of like a mixed bag. You may not want that to actually happen. Maybe you want Sulfurion in the lead spot here, actually, because Eostrid, actually, she's good. She's good to have, especially in Provoke. She's good to have in the lead spot. So I would try to gear Wukong to have 350 accuracy, kind of the minimum, basically. And then get him to do probably 200 plus crit damage. He may not be the best for the arena in this build, but he's going to double up. Until you get really solid gear, it may be difficult to hit all these stats, but it's something to actually strive for and work towards. It could be a Ugo in this spot as well. Ugo works very similarly, but I think this team is very solid. So now let's do a brutal team. So for brutal, if I go into the optimizer and search it, it's going to show very similar teams. Now, I could lock out some of these champions possibly, but if you go in here and say, okay, we're going to go to brutal this time, we're going to see what teams are shown, it's showing very similar champions to the team that I used above. I don't want that to happen, right? I don't want the same champions from this team being used in this team. So from this point on, I'm kind of on my own. I got to craft a team basically however I want. So let's see, how many Shamels does he have in the account? Well, let's see in quiz. The heck? Okay, there we go. In quiz. Okay, so he has 1 Inquisitor Shamel. So now we're in a spot, okay, we have to start looking for champions who are going to deal with the head of Torment without Inquisitor Shamel. So we need things like Veil, which is probably going to be a champion like Rector Drath, or a champion like Tatura. Tatura can work out very solid as well. It's an AoE Veil, similar to Duchess, and Rector Drath also works out great, but she also brings a res and some pretty solid heals. So Rector Drath may be who we have to bring. She places the Veil for 3 turns. We could extend the Veil. I don't know how many buff extenders he has, though. So let's just see, okay. With a Veil, something I like to consider is we don't really need champions who are going to get a bunch of extra turns because they're just going to outrun the Veil pretty quickly. Honestly, a champion like Tatura could be very solid here because what I'm thinking is that if we had Tatura, we could go Tatura plus Newt. So now we have 3 defense-based champions who are all going to be pretty survivable. We have good, sorry, not survivable, pretty tanky. We have good heals from Archer. Tatura is going to bring increased defense as well as block buffs. So maybe we need a good Mischief tank. Technically, Newt Mischief tank, not going to do that because Newt is just, he get his counterattack stolen. Great Mischief tank would be Krisk. Now, Krisk brings an increased speed on everybody except for himself, so we would like for him to be pretty fast. He also brings an extra provoke. So in this case, Krisk bringing an AoE decreased speed, we could technically throw him in a curse set, so now he's bringing the decreased speed, plus the mischief tanking abilities, plus all this other stuff, plus some buff extensions as well, making him a pretty solid option. Now, if we look for some debuffers that bring Hex, let's see what we have here as far as options to bring. Well, we always have the curse set, right? So the curse set is always an option in the back of my head. Who can fit in a curse set? Krisk may be difficult to make work in a curse set just because it's going to be, okay, we need a lot of resistance. We need good accuracy. We need the curse set. Plus we need great speed. It's a lot to fit onto one champion. So instead, maybe we go a different champion with an AoE skill in a curse set. So we have good damage. We have 1 damage dealer in Newt. Tatura can kind of do some damage as well, and Archer can do some decent damage also. But I wouldn't mind to have another champion with either an AoE skill or who could bring some decent damage. But what of the important debuffs am I missing here? We have decreased speed in Archer. We have Provoke. We have 2 of them. We have no block buffs. We have a Hex. Actually, I was wrong. We have Archer who brings the Hex, so I completely overlooked that fact. So we need block buffs, ideally. Let's see who brings that. So, debuffs. Let's go block buffs. We have Lady Kimmy, also brings a strip. We have Sun Wukong, we're not going to use him. We have Ugo, who brings a decreased defense as well. So now we're actually getting into a pretty interesting team here. So what I'm seeing is that Ugo, bringing the block buffs, We could have her place this. She also brings a heal, which is fantastic. Krisk is going to have enough continuous heals on himself that Newt placing this A2 with the counterattack is going to make him not be the target. So now we have a champion who can actually place an AoE decrease attack plus the weaken. Is not going to be the mischief target because he's not going to have the one extra buff from everybody else. Krisk should have plenty more continuous heals than everybody else once the fight starts going a little bit. And then Newt can do the weaken. He can do the big damage. We have him in accuracy build, ideally closer to 250 speed, ideally 250 plus crit damage with about 400 accuracy would be the perfect build in like Savage or Instinct. Krisk is good. Ugo does a decreased defense. So we have the decreased defense, we have weaken, we have veil, we have increased speed. Actually, let's go ahead and do the checklist. So we have block buffs, decreased defense, weaken, decreased speed, hex, provoke. We have decreased attack as well. So we could fit in some other things in here in this team, but let's check the buffs we have. So the buffs we have increased speed, we have an increased defense, we have a block debuffs, we have a mischief tank as well, we have a perfect veil, we have no increased attack, but there's no attack-based champions anyways. We have an ally protection. So here we're looking pretty good. We could use a strengthen, we could use various different things, but at this point it's, okay, what champions could we bring that could maybe res the team? If somebody starts falling, what champion could pick them up, help us continue a little bit longer? I don't want to use a champion like Elva because she's going to spread some heals around. It's going to make the thing kind of difficult to run. We could go another damage dealer because we're kind of low on those. If we had another defense-based damage dealer who is very strong, Michinaki is an excellent option, but we can't really use him. We could use a champion like Artak, honestly. Artak in this team could work very well. Artak could even be the... maybe another, actually no, we don't need Cursed or Provoke on him. So he could just be a champion in here who's bringing HP burn, consistent AoE decrease attack, and can do decent damage with the War Master procs all the time. Everything he does is AoE. So you could bring him in a Hex set if you wanted, because Archer may not keep it up all the time. She does benefit from having the Hex up, because anytime she hits an enemy under Hex, she's going to give a heal to the team based on, let's see, so heals all allies by 10% when attacking enemies under Hex. So she has a great synergy with Hex, or Artak could just be a random champion. He's going to survive, so not really worried about him dying, and all these champions are pretty tanky to begin with. We have quite a bit of heals, so I'm not worried about them falling down. You could use a champion like Pythion in this team if you really wanted, but to be honest, I think the team is pretty solid. I think if you threw in an Artak, you're looking at a full auto team that is safe, no res champion, a lot of defense-based champions, and should perform excellently. Not really sure what I would change there, but maybe there's something. Like once you start running it, maybe you find some issues, but Tatura and possible damage, maybe more like a survival, like a pretty tanky set. So we're looking for good HP, good defense, maybe throw 100% crit rate on him, prioritize his speed, and then get some crit damage as needed. Archer, we want her pretty fast, ideally in Slayer set. If not Slayer, Relentless works out great. Newt, ideally Instinct Savage, possibly Relentless if you could hit all the stats. We have Krisk, who is just going to be a mischief tank plus placing his debuff. So speed, accuracy, resistance are the stats we're looking for there. Ugo, I want to be fast, ideally Relentless, very high HP because her heal is based off of her HP. And then Artak is going to be fast, ideally 250 plus. When I say fast, I'm typically talking about 250 plus range. So all these champions are booked. We have a very solid potential Hydra team here. So now we've gone through the big group of core champions here. So we're in the last team for hard. What are we going to build for hard? Well, this is where you start getting pretty slim pickings with your champions because you've already used your S tier champions, your best champions in your other teams. So let's build a team for this one. So in this one, we're looking for, let's start with Provoke. Who's going to give me a Provoke and ideally something else extra? Well, we have Islan actually. Islan's a fantastic champion, not a super consistent Provoke because he gets a counterattack, can do the Provoke on the Head of Decay, but it may not work out great. He is a good champion. He brings a decreased speed as well. He's not booked though, so maybe we don't use him just yet. We have the option of a Provoke set as well, so it's always in the back of my mind as something that we can resort to if we need to. We have Wixwell, who's pretty solid for Provoke, but not invested in just yet. So when it comes to this, maybe we're looking for a champion who has an AoE skill, who can just, throw a Provoke set on them and be okay. So let's go into the team. First up, let's figure out who we're going to use for dealing with the Head of Torment. We'll start with that. So dealing with the Head of Torment, we're going to need some buffs. Sorry, Perfect Veil. Of course, we're going to need some buffs. The Perfect Veil is very limited here. We have Rigash who can kind of bring it, Rector Drath who can definitely bring it. So we'll bring Rector Drath here. So Rector Drath's going to bring a Cleanse, We'll put her in the back somewhat for no reason other than I just like the organization of that. Now, for organization in general, this team, we could probably switch the orders around a little bit. Not a huge deal, though. So here, let's see. We're going to start working on, we need some more. So we need decreased attack. We need everything I mentioned before. Now it's getting a little bit like, okay, we have much less champions to choose from, but we still got to make it work. So let's look for a decreased attack champion. Actually, no. Block buffs. Block buffs is super important. I know a champion who brings that, and he actually brings other stuff as well. Archbishop Pinthorn behind me. He's going to, I think he's booked. He's booked. He brings a block buffs. Heal reduction, don't need that. But he also brings an increased defense. He also has a heal, I believe, a little bit. I think he heals, right? Also shield, 30% of the max HP. So not really a heal, but he does do a shield. So that's good. So this is a champion who we're going to end up throwing in this team. Brings some good sustainability. Brings the block buffs. So now we're pretty solid there. So now that we have the block buffs, we have the increased defense. We need decreased defense and weaken still. Champion who brings decreased defense and weaken. You guys probably all know who I'm about to say. Decreased defense. Let's see what options we have. We have Venus. Actually, Venus is a very solid potential option. What increased speed options do we have? Increased speed is something that's super, super valuable. Decreased speed as well. So I want to see both of those. What do we have for increased speed and decreased speed? We actually have Lady Kimmy who could bring both of them. But champions who bring decreased speed alone is going to be a little bit fewer. We have Islin, who could be a very solid champion for this team. We have some options down there. Mother's Bell is good, but she's not invested in yet, so we're not going to bring her up. Nia could be good, AoE or AoE A1 decreased speed. But I think we may actually bring in Lady Kimmy here, possibly. Lady Kimmy's going to bring increased speed plus decreased speed. A light strip. But she should perform pretty decent for us. And she's a pretty high ascension as well. So we're going to put her in this back spot. So we have 3 supports. We have no res champion. Oh, we do. We have Richter Drath as a res champion, actually. So she's booked, and he's doing good. So now, let's see. We have 3 spots to fill in here. We need decreased defense and weaken still. We need some decreased attack. So let's see what we have. Decreased defense and weaken. So Venus. Venus is a champion who can actually do some pretty solid damage, honestly. She's going to bring HP burn. She's going to bring decreased defense and the weaken. So she can be used in here as a good damage dealer who you can bring for some support, but is a fantastic debuffer. So since we don't have Cupidus, if we did have Cupidus, we'd definitely use him. But let's see. So no Cupidus, unfortunately, but those two work fantastic together. So now let's look for a champion who's going to bring decreased attack AoE. Ideally AoE, right? So Artak could do that, but we have him in a different team. Maybe worth going back and switching that up now. Since we do need some more damage dealers, he's going to activate some HP burns as well. We could go Nishak. I don't love Nishak because of the poisons he places and the bombs, all that kind of stuff. He's not bad for Hydra. I've seen some people do some decent damage with him, but we may actually have to revisit and get Artak into this team. Unless we have more legendary options. So we have, okay, Wallmaster would be great, but he'd be in a different team anyways. We have Wixwell, who, if he was booked, could definitely go in here. It's a very solid option for sure. But a champion like Artak may just be so good in this team, we have to put him here. Since this team's much stronger, I think Artak gets a much better role here because not only is he going to bring the decreased attack, but we can also get him in this team to bring a provoke set. Like if we threw him in a provoke set, he's going to work out great. We're missing Hex, we're missing provoke. Both of those things are missing from this team right now. We have some decent damage. We have HP burn. So we're missing quite a bit of important things. Hex, super, super needed. Tila brings a lot of this stuff as well. She brings HP burn, leech, and hex. Leech is also a debuff that if you can get it in there, it's very nice to have. So she brings a lot of stuff. She is not booked or anything yet. Rule, the reason why I'm not looking at him is because he's pretty squishy, honestly. But Tila, I really want to champion in here with hex. Technically, if the cursed and the provoke gear was good enough here, you could put Venus in Cursed and then Artak in Provoke, and you could go a different damage dealer. You could have a pretty decent uptime. We need a lot of Cursed to actually do this, though. Now, this is like pushing the higher end of optimization. You could definitely do this team without having this much stuff and this like proper of a build, for sure. But right now, it's looking like pretty lacking of damage. We may actually have to drop Lady Kimmy and go Lydia, just because we need the decreased defense and the weaken, and see if we can get a different champion to put a decreased speed. We have more decreased speed options, right? So we have Visix. Visix Great option. Decrease speed and a provoke. So in here, decrease speed and a provoke. We could go Visix right here in place of Artak. She doesn't bring decreased attack though, unfortunately. But she is an option to throw in here. Archbishop, bring an increased defense. Let's actually, well, we kind of need that a lot actually. So we can't really drop him. Visix is also, oh no, she brings a decreased speed, doesn't she? Yeah, that's what I said, decreased speed and a provoke. So yeah, technically, maybe survive tanky enough to actually not need the decreased attack. I really prefer to have a decreased attack, but we may not need it. It'd be good to have some champions here. We have strengthen plus increased defense, so decreased attack, we may be able to work without it, honestly. As far as another really good Hydra damage dealer, we have Razavar. Razavar can hit hard. He brings an increased speed as well. He brings a leech, right? We do have a res champion. So an AoE leech, AoE increased accuracy and increased speed. He could be just the damage dealer we need, but we're missing an increased attack for him. So right now, we have the Veil. We have some good stuff here. We're getting to a point where this team is a little bit uncomfortable to work on. Like, trying to fit some teams in to make everything get hit. We're having to look for champions that maybe a little bit of a stretch to get in here. So we have Mithrala in that top team already. This bottom team, decreased defense and weakened. We have that doubled up though. So Venus isn't needed anymore. So we have Visix in here. We have decreased defense and weakened covered. Visix in here. So now we need a decreased attack champion still. AoE. Ideally, who can do some damage. We could throw in a Nishak. I don't really want to do that though. I've not seen him do enough in Hydra to give like, hey, yeah, this is definitely a good option. Go this champion. Wallmaster, obviously, top tier champion to get in here. Maybe we end up just taking Wallmaster, throwing him into one of these teams, and then making this one the champion we take out. So like Wallmaster could do great in this team even. Because, actually, no. This team in place of Ugo possibly. But we really just need a... Actually, he could go in this team in place of Artak. So what you would do here is put Wallmaster into this team. Since he has them. We could go other champions with decreased attack, but since he has this option, we'll just put him in there as a placeholder. And then this one would be... Let's see. Now, Wallmaster is better on Nightmare than he is on Brutal. So you'd switch the teams around for there. This is just giving an idea, basically. Where's Artak? Not in the epics, right? He's not an epic champion. So Artak right here. Boom, boom. And then for this number 1 spot, it would be another damage dealer who can do something. So we have decreased speed. We have increased speed. We have strengthen. We have increased defense. We have decreased attack. HP burn. Now we need another champion who can get the most from the decreased attack and weaken. Sorry, decreased defense and weaken. So we're looking for like a good, hard-hitting, solid damage dealer. Ideally defense-based, since we don't have any increased attack stuff. Defense-based damage dealers are going to be a little bit difficult to find, honestly. We have Stoutus. I don't know how much damage he can actually do in Hydra, though. Razavarg may be a decent option still. We just have no increased attack champions, so it may just be a Razavarg in here, just with no increased attack, basically. Because for the increased attack champions, we have some. Now, if you're just going for a 1-key team, this will work, right? This will work for 1-key. It should be fine. But that's going to be an idea for Hydra. So the main thing I want to get across is like these 3 teams. So without jumping in here and building the champions and testing it and going in depth, it's going to be difficult to actually get a really solid breakdown. Also, Wixwell could be a very fantastic option in some of these teams. Having an increased attack champion would be great for that bottom team. Let's see, increased attack. Now for the options, we do have Brogni. Brogni is a good champion. Whisper could actually be the best champion for us in that team, honestly. She places her own increased attack, doesn't she? Okay, if it's higher, yeah. So we actually just put, instead of Razavarg, just do Whisper. Now, she's going to get messed up sometimes by the Head of Torment, but she doesn't do AoE stuff anyway, so that actually would be the perfect thing. So now we have 3 good teams. 3 potential, actually definitely 1-key full auto teams. This would be hard. So that's done. So we're good there. Let's go over to the 3v3 section. So now when we're taking a look at 3v3, it really is going to come down to having more stone skin stuff. And I put that in his notes as well. The stone skin is going to be what allows you to build the good go second teams. Now with 3v3, what I like to do is I like to have a speed team and some go second teams basically. So looking at his champions, we have a few different speed boosters. We have Eostrid, Armons, Arbiter, Warlord. These are like some good control champions I'm looking at to like really really build around basically. So Arbiter, Eostrid, Warlord, Armons. These 4. So I think Arbiter can go into a team boosting by herself for sure. Then we could have a team with Stone Skin ideally. But the issue is that he doesn't have, actually no, he has quite a bit of Stone Skin, honestly. He has quite a bit of Stone Skin, it's just not leveled up yet. So we need to get in here and start leveling up the Stone Skin. And I can talk about some of the stats you're looking for as well. I have it on his note sheet, so I may not get to go over it in this video, but I do have it on his notes as well, which is basically, you're looking for this stuff. You're looking for, let's see, crit, speed, accuracy is a substat or main stat. If they don't have one of those 3 stats, you're basically going to sell it. That's just most of the time. Crit, speed, accuracy, boom. It's like the majority of gear. Now, as far as building this 3v3 team, we want one speed team, okay? One team is going to be fast, one team is going to get the job done. Now, we have a few different options. We could go Eostrid into the speed tune Arbiter, or have her in a different team. She's going to boost the turn meter by, let's see, her turn meter boost is 15%, so you have Arbiter into Eostrid, which is a big turn meter boost, very big turn meter boost, actually. And then the nuker. Who are we going to use as a nuker? Well, we have a few different options for nukers. Let's see. We have Sun Wukong, eventually. He's going to be in Hydra as well, so he's a very solid nuker. We have Baron. We have Michinaki, kind of. He's a pretty solid nuker, honestly. And then we have Ragash, very solid champion. Rhonda is a good one. Rhonda is a very solid nuke option. Nobody down here I'm like standing out above anything. I mean, these ones can be used, but they're not like crazy top tier. Not going to nuke through super high level opponents, I don't believe. Kymar could be using one of these teams as well. He's worth building, not a nuker, but worth building. Tormund's definitely worth building. Definitely a very good champion. So great against teams that have buffers that don't have like a block buff. So like good against speed teams. So let's actually put him into a speed team counter setup, which would be like we could do a Armons or a Warlord in Stone Skin here. Either one's going to be fine. With that, honestly, if we did Eostrid may not even be needed in the arena, honestly. She kind of duplicates what Arbiter's doing anyways. So a champion like Armons could be great. Or Warlord's going to decrease their turn meter and put their skills on cooldown. So that's fantastic. Now, Armons in this team. Armons plus that. Now, I don't think he has UDK. Oh, he does have a UDK. So we actually go with this team. It could be Tormund. It's not going to do a lot of damage. You have to have your Tormund hitting super hard. So if you did something like, actually we could do, if this is like a countering these Arbiter speed teams essentially, not this, it's like Arbiter speed teams in general, or like even like a Lysandra team basically. Anything that's placing buffs, Tormund can have a chance of freezing. So we would do Tormund in here, you could do a Mithrala for the increased defense and increased attack. And then you could have a champion who, you could do a UDK, but it would put a lot of the weight onto Tormund and make it very difficult for him to actually do enough damage to kill everybody. So what you'd probably want is a champion who could place decreased defense and weaken. So maybe a Lydia, so he could hit even harder, or a champion like Sun Wukong who could keep buffs off of him. So this could be a decent option as well. Now, the reason why I'm kind of questioning that is because Sun Wukong is also really good with UDK in the team as well. So the speed team is going to be something like Arbiter, Warlord. We could do Kymar after the Warlord even. Or we could have a Lydia speed tune pretty close with the damage dealer and then just kill everybody basically. So it could actually be Eostrid. It could be Arbiter, Warlord, Arbiter, Eostrid, or Warlord. It doesn't really matter who's first because she's actually going to place, you could have her just do the decreased defense and weaken, and then a champion like Baron who's going to ignore a lot of the defense anyways. It's going to help him a lot having that weaken as well. So he ignores a bunch of stuff and 50% of the target's defense. Having Eostrid is going to help turn meter control even better. So it could actually be Arbiter into Eostrid's A2 into Warlord lockout. So you could have him going a little bit slower and then have him reduce their turn meter. So they're not going to get a turn very easily. And then Arbiter come back around. Eostrid would boost again. Actually, no, open with this. Clearly, open with the A3 into the A2. So now you get the increased speed, you get the turn meter boost, and then you get the decreased speed and weaken. So a lot of stuff there. Warlord could run pretty slow if he was the third to go, and then Baron's gonna get one nuke. And then he may even get around for a second nuke, honestly. But this team should perform very, very solid. He may actually already use this team, honestly. Let's see. His main speed team, I don't know what it is. But this allows us now to have, okay, we have these two teams for 3v3. This is gonna be a good speed team in general. Can do good against like pretty tanky people, but it's got no strip champions. So against teams that have Stone Skin Heavy, it's not going to work great. So you may want to run a Strip Champion in place of Tshirt or Warlord and have like a Madame Saris in there to strip them, plus place the decreased defense so that Baron can actually nuke them pretty hard. So then this bottom team, this team right here, what I would like to see done is Armand's in Stone Skin, Mithrala pretty fast with very high resistance, like I'm talking 600-700 plus ideally. Have her be able to actually cleanse everybody if they do get controlled. Armand's in Stone Skin, even if he's like 260, 270 speed, if you can get him there, it's going to be okay. Because the goal here is that Tormund freezes somebody, interrupts them. Tormund's going to revive. Wukong is going to revive on death anyways. Armand's is hopefully going to do great controlling them. With the Stone Skin, he's going to take the initial hits. It's going to be fine. And then Mithrala can hopefully survive as well. If Mithrala goes, you ideally want her to be able to use the A2 to do the increased attack, increased defense, make Tormund hit even harder. But if not, Wukong can start stripping them, taking their increased attack, all that kind of stuff, and it should work to be pretty solid. If your Tormund could hit hard enough to go without a Wukong, it could be a team like Wukong out, UDK in, and then Wukong behind the UDK essentially. And then down here, we could go a team like UDK plus Pythion, and then we're looking for a increased attack champion, increased defense champion. Who's your next best damage dealer? We could go with so we have the damage dealers up here. Okay, it's not those. These ones, we have a little bit limited options. We'd love to see an increased defense champion. Let's see, manual selection, buffs, increased defense. So we have a few. We have Mithrala in the other team. Tatura is going to be built for the other content. Krisk could actually be pretty decent, but his increased defense doesn't go to everybody. It's just for this champion. So not really going to fit the role that I want him to here. Stoutus could do good. He gives himself increased defense on this A3 ability. So he gives himself the increased defense. He's not booked though. I don't really want you to book him for that role. Ragash is solid. He's already booked. So he could go into this bottom team and actually make sense as well. So Ragash right here. We have the cleanse and the res from Pythion. Ideally get him into Stone Skin plus some reaction stuff. Your Ragash is going to place decreased defense, assuming you can strip them, which if you have Madame Saris, you can get her into Stone Skin as well. This could be a full Stone Skin team except for possibly Ragash, which kind of makes me worried for him because he may just die, honestly. If you don't have him protected, he may just die. So let's see what else we could do. We want some more protection ideally. We have Armand's and Warlord there. Armand's cuts in, messes up this team. I like to have typically a team that is go first, a pseudo speed team, like a cutting in team basically, and then a team that's just go second. So the second one is going to be that pseudo speed team, kind of cutting in, and this bottom one would be a pure go second team. Go second teams are very much reliant on Stone Skin typically, which if you were to put UDK in here instead, it actually make it easier because UDK, or sorry, not UDK, if you put Wukong in there, he's going to continually res himself. So Pythion doesn't have to worry about UDK being in Stone Skin necessarily. You could have these three champions in Stone Skin. Wukong can die, doesn't matter. They're going to take the turns. He's going to come back to life, no problem. You only have to worry about res and the Madame Saris, who's also hopefully in Stone Skin. And then for this team, you have the defense-based champion there. It could even be another defense-based champion in Ragash possibly, or somebody who's going to survive. If you can get them in Stone Skin and still do good damage, that'll be great. You could even go a Cardiel there. You can go Cardiel pretty fast, get a bunch of Tormund A1 abilities going off. It could be great stuff. This team right here, though, I really want somebody who can do some good stuff to them. I know Tormund does a strip, so he could kind of get it done, but we want something better than that. So debuffs. Oh no, Armand's going to strip anyways. So we're not too bad off there. Decreased defense. We could even go Michinaki in that team, honestly. Michinaki could be solid. Krisk with some control could be good. We have a Deacon who could be good. The issue, though, is that if you don't freeze them, you could be in a rough spot. Even having a res champion in that team could be very solid also. Basically, the goal of this team is just to strip them, control them, and then just beat them down over time. So having a champion like, who did I just say? Oh, a Deacon maybe. Terminator manipulate a res champion could be solid. Like an Elva could be pretty good for you. You have your other stuff. You have block buffs from Elva, which could be really good. Increased speed as well, allow you to keep getting some turns. Or Cardiel. Both those could be potentially solid options. So something like this could work very well for you in 3v3. But with 3v3, like I said, you want to make sure you have a speed team. ideally like a cut-in team. So not necessarily go second team, but like go 1.5. So they're going to start off, you're going to cut in, you're going to be good to go, which is this team right here. Your Stone Skin Armand's, Stone Skin Elva, so she can actually res if somebody was to die. And then this bottom team is going to be your pure go second team. This is going to be Stone Skin, Stone Skin, Stone Skin. And then Wukong is going to be just chilling in some good high damage gear from Hydra. And he's going to be able to be fine, going to res if they do kill him, not a problem. So if these champions are built, I don't think they are, but I'm kind of curious. Hey, let's just throw them in a fight and see what actually happens here. So with this Hegemon team, we can go the Wukong setup because he's just going to come back to life anyways. If they die, no problem. With the Arbiter speed team right up at the bottom, and then this. So typically what I do is I don't like to run speed versus speed. I like to run speed into something that's slow. And then I like to find like the options where two teams can pretty likely beat the other team. And then what I'll do is I'll put the other team against the bottom, whatever, if it makes sense. But like here, this is an obvious answer there. And then here's like, okay, this is perfect. And this one's like, okay, well, it's not a speed team, so we'll just fight that. So we'll turn it on, not full auto. Just throw them in here. Obviously, these champions are not built correctly for these speed tunes, and I'm not nearly strong enough to probably kill them like I want to, but we're going to give it a shot and see what actually happens. It is bronze 3, so we're probably going to be okay. But let's see if, okay, Tormund dies. That's okay. Now we get some freezes going off. Very good stuff. Some petrifies. So basically, we're getting crowd controls like none other against them. Armand's is going to be a beast when it comes to control if he ever gets a turn. He gets a turn, maybe resisted. He might be naked. I don't know. We don't have any increased defense on Tormund anymore, unfortunately. But you can essentially see the idea of this team. We're just controlling the team. Obviously, Polymorph is I'm not a big fan of that against this team at all. This Tormund is also not geared, I don't think. So we're just going to throw out an A3. It does not much damage. So in time, when this team actually gets built, gets to a level that actually makes sense, we're going to have tons of control, fast Armands and Stone Skin, Tormund, and some good instinct gear, lethal, savage, whatever it may be. He's going to have some good defense ignore gear, having the increased defense, the constant counterattacks, constant attacks, just constant high performance, and they're really just not going to get a turn. So as long as they get frozen, as long as your Armands gets a turn, it should start off in a pretty good situation, honestly. Now, you can see here that it's going to be slow for the fight, but this fight works. The core of it works, even if the gear isn't even on the champions. This one is going to be very different if you had the champions built correctly, because Pythion is going to be able to cleanse. He's going to be in Stone Skin still. It's all going to be fine. But since the champions are obviously not built the way I want them to be built for this to work well, it's not going to work anything like that, of course. Now, Martyr's going to do that. We're just going to do the A2, sorry, the A3, and then we'll just hit the Hedgie, because why not? And then we'll just try to steal with Wukong. Probably won't happen, but it'd be cool if we do steal everything. There we go. We steal everything. So this team, once again, is going to be pretty slow performing, but Wukong just can continually res. So it doesn't matter. If he dies, he dies. It's fine. He's going to res himself. We could have Pythion res himself too. Obviously, Madame Saris is, she's not going to do anything really. Oh, she does, actually. She has enough accuracy. Wow, that's actually surprising. Super cool. So now we cleanse all the buffs. One champion's down. Very cool. So now we're going to target the Stag Knight since he's lowest HP. Boom, sheep him, because the A2 is not hard enough to actually go through anything, unfortunately. If it was to go through it, he would just demolish everything, basically. And the Arbiter team at the end should perform very well also. So with Wukong, we're just going to steal everything. Boom. Wukong is an incredible hero. Like, if you have Wukong and you're sleeping on him, don't, guys. Don't sleep on him. He is so, so good. Slowly but surely work this team down. It doesn't matter. So, like, even though Wukong is dead, it's fine because he's just going to come back. As long as he doesn't get block revived, he will be back in action very soon, basically. That's all we had to worry about is block revive. He's going to be weak, but other than that, he's going to be fine. Constant sheeps on these champs, don't really like that because it just causes them to get 50% HP back, basically. I just want to kill him. I don't want to get the constant sheeps, honestly. Then boom, there we go. One more champion down. Let's hit Stag Knight some, and then the Martyr can be killed as well. Boom. Now, once these champions get into the proper builds, these teams I think should work out very well. Now, this is, like I said, this is all done within an hour. So we have the loose Hydra builds in less than an hour. We have the arena builds. So keep that in mind when you're looking at this. Like, hey, maybe these teams could have been better. Certain ways could be adjusted. But this is just what I've come up with in the short overview, the account review session. So that team works out great. Very smooth. We're not going to worry about speed tunes. Like, it's going to be speed tunes. It's going to be fine. So there we go. That player, level 77, obviously not a challenge for this account. And once the champions are built, it's going to be even easier and can definitely push up into high silver and possibly even gold 1 once the gear gets to the point it should be. So let's go over a quick recap as far as what we should be focused on. So Nightmare builds, I have it listed there. Start selling a lot of the 5-star stuff. Normal 5-star accessories, unless quad roll speed, you should just sell, basically. Plenty of spider farming. Should replace all accessories with rolled 6-star stuff. Most pieces you're looking for crit, speed, or accuracy as just the standard substats or main stat, because if you don't have that, you're probably not going to be using that piece very often. Honestly, I've noticed in my account, like these are the most valuable substats. Sometimes you can use it like a slow UDK. Doesn't matter. You just want HP, defense, that kind of stuff. But in general, actually, even on him, you want accuracy and resistance. For stats, I have the stat breakdown down there. Now, for the general suggestions, we have tons of Perception to Forge. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but he has a ridiculous amount, 950 pieces. This will increase his gear quality so much. So when you forge Perception, ideally you use speed charms, but if you're limited, you can use accuracy charms, it's fine. But most of the time, Perception gear, you're going to want speed on it. So speed, ideally, and then forge around what you don't have a lot of. So like go some weapons, go some helmets, some shields. Those are easier to fit in, and then start going into a bunch of, okay, maybe we get some 6-star boots. Maybe we try this other stuff. But weapons, helmets, and shields are very easy comparatively to get usable triple roll speeds for. Because the bottom row pieces, maybe you're looking for accuracy chestplate. If you get a HP chestplate with triple roll speed, it's not bad, but a weapon, helmet, or shield with a triple roll speed would have been far easier to use. He has some other stuff to forge as well, some lethal things, but the forge is going to be the number one thing I recommend for him to do as far as improving his overall gearing. So build out Hydra, Nightmare, and Brutal. Nightmare Hard and Brutal, that is. Grind regular arena, forge gear, and cleanse. This is like a huge task, which, guys, if y'all want any help on your accounts, I can do all this stuff. Like I can build out the teams, I can do the cleansing, all that kind of stuff. Just click the link down below, get signed up, I can help you out. Now, forge passes are always worth it. Very much worth it, especially if you're a spender. Well, I guess only if you're a spender, but if you're a spender, they're definitely worth it. Instinct, very helpful here. So champions to get up. Wallmaster and Geo, he mentioned he was working on. Those are both fantastic options. However, Geomancer is kind of to the point where his account doesn't really need him. Outside of like possibly Iron Twins, Geomancer isn't going to be a game changer. Don't need him in Hydra and things like that. And then Martyr is very much worth bringing up for faster Fire Knight runs in general. She can be used in teams to do the counterattack. Your Newt's there. You'd have a much faster Fire Knight than 6 minutes, which definitely is pretty slow, right? Like we get a Martyr in here, get the wave clears done faster, possibly a Razavarg as well. You get the triple hits. Basically, the ideal with Martyr is you bring a Cardiel. You can go before the boss. So have him like 251, I think it is, to beat the boss. Have him place the block buffs. And then Martyr place the counterattack right before the boss goes. Have everybody else 1 speed slower than the boss, basically. So then as soon as they counterattack, they start going in. Open with Newt's A1, then have him use his A3, throw in a Kymar, and you got a team that's going to work very fast, under 3 minutes, probably under 2 minutes, honestly, and you can actually start farming more Fire Knight, which is what he needs because his account is very low when it comes to Savage gear. So there we go, guys. That was a little bit different than the normal account review, but I'm hoping that gives him a lot of value, especially this Hydra build. And I hope it gives you guys a lot of value as well when it comes to picking champions, organizing your Hydra teams. But that's just like a loose overview of how I would organize 3 Hydra teams if I was to build them right now to make them work on Nightmare, Brutal, and Hard. Of course, there could be some changing around of these teams. Maybe I want Wallmaster on Nightmare because he's going to do more damage there, but maybe there's not more change. Maybe this is perfectly fine as it is. He's going to do more damage on Nightmare, but if Michinaki can hit hard enough, he's going to do great as well. But it's most likely going to be, hey, Wallmaster would probably do better in the spot of Sun Wukong, and Sun Wukong could be moved down here, and then we could get somebody else in spot of Ugo or something like that. So whatever it may be, guys, thank you all for watching. I appreciate you all. Hopefully this helps. Let me know what you think about this type of account review. I didn't build the teams, but I did go over the teams and did a pretty, hopefully, in-depth review. I did forget to mention, though, that Leech is actually something I look out for a lot when building Hydra stuff. So Leech is also a debuff that's super helpful. I didn't even see it, but there it is right there. So Leech, very valuable. If you can get it in, fantastic, but you just want some type of healing. If you don't have healing, your team's just going to slowly wither away. So you need some kind of heal, whether it's from continuous heal, from Leech, from turn meter boosting, from Eostrid, whatever it is, get some heals. But guys, thank you all. I appreciate user 12345. Let me do this takeover for him, and I'll catch you all later on.